never seen a downturn that we're experiencing right now. Taking wood mills that have run this mill now for basically 48 years before we had to take downtime during other situations. Basically put the community at risk of losing the community. This community was built around, four brothers came here in the early 1960s, built the mill, and built the community around the mill. They built a school, they built a church, they built everything for the community. Everybody that lived and worked here basically worked for the company. It's really strange to take the most force-dependent community in the whole province, which is Dubreuil, and it's been recognized as that for years and years and years, instead of taking the good supply of the community, giving it to someone else makes absolutely no sense to us. We initially were sitting back quiet about this, thinking that politically would be the way to resolve this, and we thought we had a good opportunity because a member was actually in our own party. As it's turned out, it's turned to be us and basically. So now there's going to be winners and losers, and you guys are losers, so it's worth your luck.
Yeah. So what do you think? Too bad.
But I think this whole process, we could have done it in a way where everyone could have been a winner.
Yeah, there didn't have to be winners and losers.
You know, you just look at the whole wood that's available and just split it up like so everyone's a winner.
They at the time, basically 24 million cubic meters is what gets used in the normal industries at its normal peak. We're down to about 10 or 11 million cubic meters right now, which is less than 50%. This process had on the table 11 million cubic meters. My last recollection of the whole thing was given about 4.7 million away. Approximately 3.5 million was moved that belonged to the companies already. So we really haven't created any new developed and we really just reshuffled or redid the pie. It's not the government that's going to get these communities going. It's going to be the market. We've got a community here where we've got a mill where the owner wants to operate the mill. We've got a community full of people that are willing to work and are good workers. We've got a union that's on board with us and we're going to let them know. We've got the government on this one. We're sorry.
I've got a couple of questions. Just so, in your peak year, how many people working?
There were
in the mill and the forest that split up the wood and forestry.
Yeah, the numbers exactly show I don't know the split up. At the peak, there was 540 employees working.
Yeah.
That was around 2000, 2001.
That's with both the forest operations and.
Well, even in 2007. 2006.
Yeah, we had 400 change. That's when the market slowly started coming.
So
about 120 would be the nice.
So most of the skilled labor force is gone, right?
No, it's strange. A lot are commuting, and part of it is because we're dealing with second and third generation families that are working here. Initially, a lot of people went out west and got jobs in the oil fields, got jobs in Sudbury and even the nickel industry. That then went into a bit of a recession, and people came back to where their home is, and this is where home is for a lot of people. So
some of the trades, some of them are working at the mines there, just back here for now, and a lot of them are just praying for the mill to start back up so they can come back.
And people want to come back, and that's human nature. You want to come back to where home is. And like I said, we're dealing with second and third generation families and people that have been here for 50 years. They want to come home.
And so what's happened to the so the town's population has shrunk significantly.
Yes, well, if you go back to the census of 2003, we were in the range of 900 people. Of the 2006, we were just over 700. We'll say about 650 right now. We'll know because we just had another census a couple months ago. But that's what should have reduced. The worst part is all the youth that go to school, don't come back no more for summer jobs because there's no summer jobs for them. So that do affect the community for the families and volunteer in events and all that because all those youth are not coming back to town. So that's the major impact. And you want those kids to come back in Northern Ontario, but if there's no opportunity, they won't.
Absolutely. And it doesn't help the municipality with the shrinking tax base either.
We're struggling.
Oh, we're struggling because at the end of the day, I mean, we won't hide of that. I mean, there is receivable and people, so everybody paying their taxes because some can't afford to pay them. So that put the municipality in a situation that it's pretty hard to function normally. And I mean, if you have 200 people or 1,000 people, you still have the same number of streets to plow and maintain the water treatment. And we all know that water is a big one because you want to serve safe drinking water. So I mean, the cost is there. I mean, it doesn't matter how many. The only difference would be less chlorine we're going to use if we use less cubic meter of water, but I mean, you still have your plant, everything is there.
And when the mill was running, there were a lot of synergies where the mill was able to provide services to the community at basically no cost. The sand, the streets, and the different things that you know the municipality has to bear that cost burden.
Even repairs. This is Danny Dayaki, member of the Economic Development Corporation.
Danny.
So Danny, c'est Mike qui connaît, c'est Gilles Bisson et puis Andrea. And did you have more questions, Gilles?
Yeah, no, I just, well, it was just, maybe I thought what would be helpful is if we could go through the map and explain a little bit, to put the picture to it, what wood we're talking about that you still have, what was allocated out, what you see as possible solutions, etc. And then maybe we can have a bit of a chat about what we talked about this morning in Timmins.
Okay.
We can see it on those maps. Those maps are intended for the road allocation because we want to explain to you a little bit of the road access issues. This is the map for road access, but on it I'm sure they will be able to relate on for the boundary of the wood supply.
You can go get one while we go through this tour. Okay? So, okay. So you can look at the map, and we can go to the. Do you have any more questions?
No, I'm fine. I was reading. This is quite helpful.
This CLUAH thing, maybe Réjean could explain a little bit.
Yeah.
It has to do with access to Crown land, road access to Crown land.
I mean, we always have issues for many years about road access, and I will go back to 2005 and 2006. When the peak of the issues came up with road closure and people could not access a major lake around Dubreuilville because of the remote outfitter. Also, we have the parks, the game preserve, Château Game Preserve, and also a private land. You will see them later on that, you know, the square footage of square meter of access around Dubreuil is limited to all of that. So in 2006, I met with Minister Ramsey at the time of MNR, and we explained the situation, and he said that's a local issue that needs to be resolved locally with the MNR district. And that's at the time with all those discussion and pressure from everybody that CLUAH came along, and we have been working on it for almost 5 years now, and but lots have happened during that time. The fact that the mill closed and people was laid off, so many people that was part of the working group lost interest, who have to move to go away for work. So I mean, the process went on, and then finally last year that famous map came up, and you were going to basically shut down the entire bush behind Dubreuilville, just 7 kilometers from town. So there is lots of people from town that was upset about it. We talked to our MPP about it. I know Ontario is an association, a group that formed to equal access, and they put their pressure on it also. So finally the Minister Jeffrey decided to send that back to the working group and the steering committee of CLUAH and give them 4 more days. It's a pretty short window, but I mean, at least we could work on it. And then Anik Croft joined us at that time with the EDC and myself, as I was representing the original Superiors Mayor group for the 6th community. So we went back and to develop 2 or 3 options to present back to the minister. So the 2 first days, I can tell you, there was not very easy days, because you bring all different stakeholders together, and you have extremists on both sides. You want people that's more balanced, so it's hard to move forward with that. What I really like about the 2 first days is that M&R took a back seat and let us work, compared to the first 4 years that M&R was leading everything.
Because you had a mediator this time.
Yeah. And so that was great. In the last 2 days, what they said, basically, if you want to work with this group, work with this group, and if you can work with this group, just go work with the other group. So that just split the group in 2, and you had your people that want to close everything, want to work together, and the people want more true balance that came up with different options. Now we have 4 options. We'll explain that to you later on. And we believe that one option is, there's nothing the best, but I mean, I don't think we'll see a free-for-all. Everything will be open. You need some rules and to move forward. So we want to make sure that the option A that we're going to explain to you is that this option will be moving forward. You know? Yes.
Because our concern with that, like, we live here, we live in Dubreuil because we love hunting, fishing, camping in the bush and all that. And now the government's turning around, or not the government, the remote, the outfitters, they want to have a bigger buffer zone, so we wouldn't have access beyond the 7 kilometers from town. I mean, and because they say it affects their business, but and their business brings absolutely nothing to Dubreuil, not 1 cent, nothing. They don't purchase anything here.
Because the planes are based out of town, out of another lake, so they fly over. Yeah, they fly over our town. So they say they bring a lot to the economy locally, but they don't. So they take the lakes from behind our town, but we don't get anything benefits from that. So.
It's funny because when they bring their gas, they go around Dubreuil to go over just forest. And when they come back, they cross over down the shorter route, go back to Wawa to pick up the next gas.
But and then if they're even if they allowed access to their lakes, it wouldn't hurt the lakes. But anyways, this is
so they go around Dubreuil because they don't want their guests to know that there's actually a town right near where they're
roads or stuff like that. Yeah, when you can tell if they're empty, they go right over town.
Yeah.
And also,
they want.
And it's only really the seasons, and it's like from June to end of August. And then they want exclusive these lakes all year round for only 3 months. So that's why we're fighting against it like this. It's unreal.
Well, and again, it infringes on your way of life. It's way of life.
And us, if we want to promote the road-based tourism, well, we can't. Because we don't have access to it. We don't have access to it.
So Guy's going to join us on line 1. Hello, Guy? Hello, Guy? Hello, Guy?
Yeah, it's like they take
away
but then they take away our access to go in the bush also. So how are we supposed to survive and come up with something else to... we don't have a mill, but we can't... There will be lakes or roads for us to diversify our economy.
Why? So what
they're strangling us and like, okay, that's it. We're getting in a die.
Yeah, like last year they closed the road 8 because that was needed from Dubreuil to Montpellier. Tourists that would come to do ATV use their...
Mais non, je t'entendais pas. Pourquoi je demandais si
and they closed the road right for the weekend.
There's one road that links us from Dubreuil to Hornpain. There's a river to cross. We built a raft to cross over it. It's a nice little challenge. But because there's a operator that has one lake, maybe a few kilometers from there, just because he says he's going to hear ATV noises sometime during the day, his customers, well, he arranged with the MNR to cut us off that route and close it.
No.
So for his service and his customers, we are denied access to go over there for our benefit. That's stuff like that we have to deal with.
So, I don't know if we want to look at the options.
Yeah, I know I'm quite comfortable with option A,
Oui.
actually.
Okay, so what if we just have
This is
the preferred one?
We have a difficulty with the phone, but you will just like to say something to you.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Should have bought it first there, sorry.
Rajaj, do you want to, since you're off the phone, did you want to go and explain a bit of option A? I think we'll start with that.
Yeah, definitely.
I can fill in this.
appelé la semaine passée, son personnel m'avait dit.
So this is a map of Dubreuilville. We have Wawa, White River, Manitoulin, and this is the option A. The option A was developed by a resident of White River from Hornpain and other stakeholders who were at the meeting when we were in Wawa. And just to give you an example, when you look at Dubreuilville here, all those square here is private land.
The beige?
All the beige here. When you see that boundary here, all this is the game preserve.
Okay, Chapeau.
Chapeau Game Preserve. And basically on the other map, what they're suggesting is from this, everything will be also blocked off for remote outfitters. So we only have this. That we believe it don't make sense. What you see around the lakes is what they call the buffer zone. Right now we have a 3-kilometer buffer zone, and what we suggest on this is to go down to 2 kilometers. But you will have access, if there's road, to other small lakes like you can see here. We'll be able to access those lakes. We can use the road as long as we don't go on the main body of water during the season. And if the season is from June 15 to August 15, so be it. The rest of the year we'll be allowed to use the road and access the lake, you know.
So this is what you're asking the group prefers here.
Yes, and also by reducing the buffer zone from 3 to 2 kilometers, we're going to free up all the road access to connect to other communities.
So this is the buffer zone for the outfitters?
Yes.
So that nobody can come in?
They cannot use the lake with a motorized vehicle to access the lake. They can walk from 2 kilometers. They can bring the canoe and walk and go in the lake.
So right now it's 3 and you're saying reduce it to 2?
Yes, that's what we're saying. And all where's the green here is the area for recreational. So what we're suggesting in that section is to, if there's any, basically this part, the yellow one, is to keep it as touch equal it is now, except just to remove reduce the buffer zone. But the green part is, if M&R have money to invest for both lunch and any other camping ground, or to permit any camping ground, is to use all that green section, you know. So to develop and invest money in there. If you have any both lunch or anything, any infrastructure in place that will attract your people, you're going to reduce the pressure on those lakes also. But right now there's nothing in place here, and all the big lakes are on that section. Everybody wants to go this.
Do you still have the buffer zones?
On those one, yes.
Yes. And then the 2 kilometers as well?
Yes.
You're asking.
And maybe Anik can, because the last 2 meetings.
Maybe one of the important factors to mention about the buffers is that one of the issues that came in play about the buffers was that at some, if you look at some places where 2 buffer zones, and that's the reason behind reducing it to 2 kilometers, was that 2 buffer zones would get onto each other and would restrict complete access from one community to another from this road on, because the 2 buffers would go on to each other. So then there's no access at all. So that was one of the reasoning behind reducing the buffer zones, which they still get their protection, but at least it gives you that section of road to at least to go from community to community.
And also we have to remember that there is outfitter on those lakes that want to work with community like Dubreuilville or Hornpain and White River to develop partnership, maybe during winter time, to open their business for snowmobiling, ice fishing, that kind of stuff that right now is still permitted. And if we go in, we can have a look at the other map, because if that go with the other maps, it's going to be even worse, in the sense that.
So whose option is this? Your option A?
Yes.
Option A.
That's the one. That's the preferred option. Private land, and this corridor, what they're suggesting is to permit a corridor to access Hornpain. But if you own that route, you cannot access any land, because right now, wintertime, we have a snowmobile trail that connects to community, and you go to a snaggy lake for ice fishing. if this come in play, we won't be able to leave that corridor. So we won't go anymore to a snaggy lake. It's an example, or the lakes, you know.
Really good fishing off at that point.
Wow. That's why there's a little dot there?
That's because of this lake right here. This tourist operator had said that they might hear some noise of us traveling with our ATVs. So he had convinced the MNR and everything to shut us down, that we couldn't use that corridor because of one tourist operator with one camp. So shut up.
And how many? And so tourists. Let's say this guy. So how many? What's his you know, his revenue? I mean, what kind of business does he do here that gives him so much power? And how many?
Because the thing is, NOTO has their staff to fight against us. We don't have staff. So
NOTO is Northern Ontario Tourist Outfitters?
Yeah. So they have their staff
so
to
this
go
is one
see
camp, but they
yeah.
have many camps around? Is there like a...
Yeah, they have all those camps.
It's an association.
Oh, association, okay. Yeah.
The worst even, the ones that are even worse is the outpost camps. Those are the little ones that they don't have nothing, there's no power or nothing. It's just really ratty old. But because they have one on one lake, we were restricted to go down there. And sometimes they don't even use it for a few seasons, but still they have the right to use it and restrictions for us.
In the Wawa district, there's 61 lakes without any camp or outpost camp that are reserved for future remote destination. We can't even access those lakes, and there is nobody on it.
Yeah.
61 lakes.
So how many outfitters do you have operating in this corridor?
Snaggy is alone. How many people in Snaggy?
Probably 4.
You have 4 or 5
well,
together.
Altogether, I'm not sure.
Together on the corridor, probably more.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing on this big lake here, there's one that she's really pushing for all of this, and she's for remote. But the funny thing is, she's got a road coming into her camp, and the fuel truck comes right there and fuels her up. But she doesn't want nobody. She says everything's traditional, just by plane, by walking, and everything. But she has a road to come into her camp that's supposed to be remote, and the SO truck comes up, fills all her fuel and everything.
Because at one point, that's what people were saying too. If it's remote and it's flying only, well, fly your guests, fly your goods, fly everything. Why can you use a road to bring your goods
only when
and
it's
you fly your
right?
Yeah,
for her. Yeah, I hear you.
And there's a few that do that.
And we know when we have.
There's a few that built the whole road there. In the beginning, you don't think it's a road, right? So, and then once you go beyond the street, that's the one.
We saw him with pickup trucks in there, but he's the one pushing to totally remote. Doesn't they're all for remote, but they come in with their big trucks.
The first half kilometer is pretty brushy and it's rough, so nobody go there. But if you just go further, it's all clean cut and everything. It's a nice road to get to his camp.
So Gilles, remind me, when you raised all these things, because you raised them in the legislature many times, and when you raised them at committee, what was the response?
They're not closed. You can go in anytime you want, as long as you don't go motorized, says the minister. Right? That's the first line.
That's there,
And they're basically in denial. They're just like
they're pretending it's not a problem.
We'll walk 2 miles to 2 kilometers to get to the lake.
Well, actually, it's 3 kilometers right now.
3 kilometers, yeah.
And they're not answering his question at all in the House. What they're saying is that they're boasting about the great relationship that they have with the outfitters and the promotion they've been doing.
And also, they say 3 kilometers, but we had found some signs that are even more out than the 3 kilometers. Some are like 10 kilometers away. I would say at this sign, from this point on to this lake, you cannot access the lake. But we knew that it was way more than 3 kilometers, like somewhere like 10 or 15 kilometers away. They would just put all the sign anywhere that almost they wanted. So.
And we can't access the road beyond that sign.
So then you would get a ticket from the game warden.
And the part that's really frustrating is all the hell of the people. If everybody decided to go fishing in Hornpain and White River and Dubreuilville and Wawa, they still would make a dent there.
No. Because there's
enough room to cohabitate.
This lake is so huge. It's so big. Like this one too. It's so big. Like.
Oh yeah.
Is that Saginash? I can't see. Saginash is more.
Well, we have a lake about 31 kilometers on the game preserve. It's called Wabaton Lake, and there is outfitter on it. It's a very huge lake, and we have road access. We have a boat launch, and so general public go there. You have all those businesses who bring their guests by train or by air, and that lake's still pretty good fishing. I mean, we didn't hurt the lake. According to some road outfitter owner, is saying that if those lakes are open to the general public, we're going to kill the lake. There'll be no more fish.
Because of the millions and millions of
Yeah.
people that are coming.
But it's not true, because we have the perfect example. You know?
And even like in Menard, John
Palach,
Palach, the district manager in Wawa, was saying that the government should try to even open those lakes that are remote right now. That they should give it a try for a couple of years just to see what happens.
Yeah, they want that too, the pressure from Noto.
You know, we understand in '65 they were alone and there was no road access, but now we're in 2011, you know, time have changed and we have to adapt. And we have to adapt all together and we have to share all together.
And
that's the key, is sharing. They don't want to share.
And then when our parents, like my parents, they first came here, they had access to those lakes. Like those were places they had access
Traditional
to.
access.
Yeah.
And in Quebec, they adapted. They have adapted to having road access and everything. We have to adapt with the times.
I know, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So,
Presented this, your options to
the district manager, then they brought that to the minister, and now it's on the EBR for the 45-day review.
Okay.
They have 5 open houses that happen in the 5 communities. So we have until September the 1st, I'm looking at Anik just to confirm we have until September the 1st to comment on it, and then the minister will look at it again, and then we have another review. And
She will make a decision and then put it back on the EBR.
Yeah.
And we're from there.
And they came to Dubreuilville July 27th. They had a public presentation. No one spoke French.
In English.
That's on this issue.
Yeah, on that issue.
Yeah.
And they know when they come here, you're supposed to have somebody to translate and do everything.
And you had specifically told them.
They knew that from the last meeting, from the last meeting. It was
even
clear.
in email, they exchange email.
You know.
Make sure to have someone to translate.
So it was hard to do the presentation.
They brought one lady, but she did it a little bit, but then she stepped away. She didn't do anything else. Now they're going to say they did bring somebody. But
she didn't understand.
No.
So are you getting a sense that the minister is actually going to make a decision before the election?
Yes.
Well, that's what they're giving us. That is what they're giving us. They're telling us that she'll make a decision and then put it back on the EBR because that is the process. And I guess even, it doesn't seem like there's another step to it. It seems that after even though there may be comments on the option that she chooses, that will be the option we'll have to live with.
And this is a template for the rest of Ontario.
Oh, yes.
This is a part of the project that they want to implement in any other district.
Any of you going to Joliet? Was it next week?
22nd.
It was a big rally.
Yeah.
Anybody from here going?
No, I was away for a week, so I don't know. But so there's a group working on those issues right now. So I don't know if they're planning on attending.
It's interesting they picked Joliet. I'm just wondering if you're okay. Anyway. All right,
Okay.
Dave.
Thank you.
So the map, and I apologize for this, I like to visually see things, and it gives you a better picture of what's going on. So the Magpie Forest is here. Dubreuilville is located right near the bottom portion of the Magpie Forest. Traditionally, and when I say traditionally, for the last 20 years we've drawn wood supply from the Black River, the Pick River, Ojibwe, and the Magpie to run the mill in Dubreuilville. I'll use round numbers, roughly 1 million cubic meters is what the mill was at capacity on 3 shifts. The new plan was looking at just running 2 shifts and going back to a 5-4 schedule, just for a lot of reasons, and one of the bigger reasons were the 3 shifts caused us a lot of issues in terms of maintenance, and it wasn't good for employees. It was a 6 days a week schedule, and there was no family life after. You learn from your mistakes. Dubreuilville used to be a community where everybody did everything together. You'd have 300 people go on ATV rides or snowmobile rides or something.
Very big family.
Yeah, very big family affair. So the new plan now was to use wood from the Magpie Forest and the Big Pick Forest to run on the 2 shifts, and the rest of it was going to come through fiber exchanges with Terrace Bay pulp. So the wood supply was there. We were going to give them chips. They were going to give us roundwood in return, and we'd have enough wood to run them.
Which would be about 700, 600?
Yeah, it was around 750, I think, is approximately what it was. So I just copied a map for you, just so you see the Big Pick and the Magpie. Yeah, Dubreuilville is located right there. So that was the idea. What's happened now is they've since told us they've given this wood to somebody else, and they've given this wood to somebody else. So.
And this wood was never in the competition, even though that mill's been shut down for 5 years? 5 years? And us it's been 3.
Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies in what they've done.
Yeah, they're not consistent, they play favorites.
So what wood is left?
It's very difficult to tell, Jill, because in this open and transparent process, you can't get answers from anyone.
Yeah, they say it's transparent, but there's no answer.
So you got no wood associated with the mill now?
No. As far as we know, no wood associated with the mill. Louise has been in contact with the minister's office. They told her a month ago that they provided the numbers.
Yeah, with the list, and I've tried Friday many times to...
they haven't, so...
to get a hold of them.
And so now this White River plan, which is over here somewhere, they're pulling out of here and here?
They're pulling out of here, here,
okay,
here,
big thick as well,
here, the Algoma.
No, it's all chipping.
Yeah, it's all going to... and I mean, I don't want to belittle...
No. There's yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, is that there's some value to what they're trying to do, but we should have a best end use policy.
Absolutely.
And then do what we did with the paper mills, take the residual waste and the chips and sell them to the...
And the unfortunate part of this is we've always complained that the pulp mills have had control of the wood basket all along. And if you look at who the big winners were in this process, it's the pulp mills again. And an end-use policy would go yards and yards in making sawmills run.
So to show how depressing this is, show which mills are been closed just in Thunder Bay here.
So if you start in Thunder Bay, there's 3 mills that are closed in Thunder Bay. Great West, Northern Sawmill, Northern Hardwoods. If you keep coming west, the Nipigon, the Mirror Mill is closed, shut down, gone. The Marathon Pulp Mill is gone.
And that's not coming back?
I was told that's not coming back.
That's what I know.
That's totally
useless. And there's Kruger that shut down in Monmouth.
Yeah. What's a OSB mill, but I'm staying on the Highway 17 corridor here. The White River Mill is down. The Dubreuilville Mill is down. St. Mary's and Sault Ste. Marie is down. I mean, you go from... basically from Sault Ste. Marie west, there was at one time I think 18 pulp mills running. There's 3 now. So, and it's frustrating because the wood supply is there.
Yeah, well that's why I raise it. Is that in the new whatever we're at today, whatever comes out of this recession that will be running, there's enough wood to supply them all.
There is.
It's not as if we don't, because we were harvesting at much higher levels when all those mills were running.
And if there's enough wood, like we were saying, if they were to just allocate it so everyone's a winner, it would be possible, right?
Yeah. It's almost like
to redo it or restructure it.
The parties need to restructure it, not the government, because I mean, nothing personal intended, but businesses know how to run businesses, and governments run governments, and they should stick to their own.
Well, the Crown has to be involved in the allocation, absolutely, because it's Crown forest. But why? Okay, let me just cut to the chase. Why did they decide to do it this way? Why would they take wood away from you? Have you ever been told?
Yeah, ask them that, and they always come up with those answers on this.
They basically say somebody else has got a better business model than you, and they've chosen this one over you.
But nobody's up and running.
Nobody's ready.
No. What's the one that we scored? Out of 30, we scored like 2 or 3 out of social.
3 out of 40 in terms of jobs created and or maintained, social and environmental impacts and analysis. 3 out of 20. We got 0 out of 20 for jobs created and or maintained.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
Well, because they picked a...
Because we don't know how this whole scoring thing goes.
We have for a while we thought about maybe building a wooden car, because we were talking about the auto industry, and it also helped a lot the auto industry to talk about, we'll build a wooden car and we go down to Queen's Park and bring it there. Because what have they done for the wooden?
But you sent them a message.
Because
your wooden car in the corner didn't have wheels, but it sure sent a message.
So when I gave, I was here when I gave the flag to, the key to Mr. Brown, and I know it's not the last, this is another one. Because we're going to be heard, like, our plans are is to, once the campaign starts, we will be following them. And that coffin will be showing up, and we'll be vocal.
So you will see in that document here that it does.
Yeah, that's quite helpful. I was reading through that. I was reading through the point.
Yeah, the score is 0 out of 20. So you know he was talking about scoring.
See, what they did is they came up with some magic threshold number that they said, okay,
if you don't reach
you've got to create 0.2 jobs per 1,000 cubic meters. But they didn't take into account a sawmill actually only uses 30% of the log. The rest of that wood goes to create jobs in the pulp mill. But they basically said, no, your sawmill is on the same footing as a mill that burns it to make electricity.
Yeah, and that's not right.
So let me ask a really dumb question. I thought I knew the answer, but now I'm getting to be, I'm not so sure. Do you have anything going on the forestry side at all?
We're doing a little bit of road maintenance.
That's it.
And we're doing our planning obligations and reporting obligations.
So you're managing a forest that you no longer have license to, essentially.
And you asked the question, what's happening with that?
So you still have the legal responsibility for the forest management plan?
Yes.
Even though they've reallocated the timber?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's why I had that.
Because they haven't taken the license away from Dubreuil Forest yet.
So you incur the cost and you don't get the
Andrea she has to make a quick call. So
Now we're going to.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just going to ask some more questions.
All right.
No, I've already do your call. Yeah, we'll do that in a minute. So, bottom line, where are you guys at? How much longer is there any kind of entity here left?
Yes, the company is rolling into a new entity. We're a number company right now. The owner is willing and wants to run a facility.
And who's the owner? Still Ken? Okay.
Yeah, the facility was put up for sale, but because there is no wood supply associated with the asset, there were no interested parties, and it's gone back to the original owners.
So was there any money owed to contractors and stuff here?
No. The only money owing was to the Crown.
That's okay, we won't ask you.
And you know, they say that you know, what a bad company we are, and you know, we did all this and this, but I mean, look at what Bowater has done and wrote off basically 2
No, because somebody had told me that there was people here that had not been paid, and I said I had not heard that one. So that's why I raised
the severance issue is.
No, that I do know about that, but I'm talking contractors that had contracted with the mill for either forestry.
There isn't a single supplier, a single contractor, a single trucker, anybody that is owed money for services or goods provided.
Now, all of those, there's a lot of employees that are on severance. What's going on there? Like, I know the union is sort of backed off trying to help you guys along. But is there a lot of pressure from the existing work group, the former work group, to move on that?
I couldn't tell you that. You'd have to ask Guy, and Guy would be the better to talk to about that.
So they don't do anything. Let's say the impossible happens, they get reelected, they carry on with this plan. What happens to you? You guys are done. Doesn't matter if you're restructured or not.
Well,
right?
I don't know. I think there's a will there that we want to do something, and we'll find a way to make it work. Probably 20% of our wood supply came from private land in the past, and that's always an option. But it needs to be economical, so it needs to be close wood that is available.
So where is this wood now going? Where was it at? The Magpie, where is it allocated to?
You go Hornpain.
Okay, that's good.
And it's not economical for Hornpain either.
So you have to go around.
To have that wood, right? It's really not a...
Do the outfitters complain when they drive by with the trees?
Yes.
They do?
But they have to build roads so they can be seen, the roads that they are logging around from the lakes.
Timing and seasonal restrictions on when we can.
Just back to that for a quick, how much activity in the winter as far as outfitting up there?
Absolutely.
There's almost same. Okay.
They're all closed, but they want to still be exclusive all winter long.
So So what's the fix as far as the allocation in your view? If you were the ones saying, all right, reasonably we can allocate whatever, where does it come from and who does it affect on the negative or the positive?
To me, the fix is go back to what the traditional use was, then nobody is affected.
Yeah.
You know, if you're using what you've used for 20 years, there is no loser. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. The guy that put in an application for building something new that never had anything before, if he gets turned down, he's lost nothing. But the mill that's run for 48 years gets turned down in its application, it's lost everything. It's lost everything. You know, and when you look at usage, less than 50% of the available fiber in the province is being used right now. So you know, you don't take an industry at its lowest point ever. I mean, nobody ever remembers anything like this happening in the past.
Well, this is the absolute worst we've ever seen as far as that. Right. What we announced this morning was two parts. Andrea was in Timmins this morning with some of her candidates. Part is the mining part, basically process the resources here for pretty obvious reasons. The other one is on the Bill 151. We're basically saying is that we scrap it. The reason we scrap it is really twofold. One is because it creates question as to tenure for those existing licensees, and they really don't have a community forest model in there. That you can call it what you want. It's not a community forest. So what we're saying, we would scrap 151. The basic tenet is this: if you have wood, it has to be secure. You can't operate a business if your wood can be taken away at the whim. So you've got to get rid of that part. But if a mill does shut down and say, we're closing down, we're never reopening again, the wood goes back to the Crown, but then there's an RFP process that puts you more, I wouldn't say in control, because the Crown still has to have what I say, but it is, somebody's phone's actually ringing. It wasn't mine. It gives the community weight in the RFP process so that the community can say, you know, we want to restructure under whatever, therefore we should have access to that wood, and you're able to go and find yourself a partner, as you have in this case, and basically say, yeah, we have a use for the wood, it's viable, here's what we want to do, and that's basically operating along those lines. That's what we're saying.
And that's smart. I mean, that's if the company has made the commitment that yes, we're going, you know, then look for something. But if you've got a willing participant, why would you ever do what you're doing? The other frustrating part about this whole thing is they've put this out there as just a stepping gap to 151. You know, sort of interim measure. This is something permanent.
Why did they do it in your view, from within industry? I have my particular views, but why do you think that they've done what they've done when they've come to marking around with it?
I have a lot of conspiracy theories, and I don't know.
What's your best one?
My best one?
Yeah.
It's something personal against a type of industry, against a sawmilling industry. You know, I'm tossing up between that and the other one about the pulp mills have gotten to them somehow, and I think that one probably sheds a little more weight, where the pulp mills have gone to the Premier and said, look, we just signed this great deal with all of these environmental groups, but you know, we've got them off your back for a while. You're going to have to get them off our back. We've committed to not cutting all this wood, which they have, but we're going to need a little extra. And if you look at who the winners in this whole process were, it's the pulp companies. It's
a bit of a perfect storm, and I think there's another thing that came into it. M&R has always had their own little agenda around. I'm not going to mention names. About where they want to go with the tenure system, and I think that's the other part of it. That met with the government being able to be seen as being green, and industry being seen as being green as long as you're the big guy, and everybody else got froze out. That's kind of what I think they're playing for. Is they're playing for the 905, the 416. Yeah. That's what it's all about.
So in our environmental side of things, I think we got 2 out of 10 or 2 out of 20. I can't remember offhand, but. You know, our question to them was, how can you do that? You know, you've taken an industry that was green, we utilize everything we do, we don't create any emissions or anything. You have a pulp mill that you're paying for them to clean up their messes through this black liquor tax incentive. They get more points in the scoring system because they're doing something to clean up. what they're doing. Whereas, you know, we don't have that opportunity because pretty much everything we're doing is environmentally sound.
And in fact, you're doing a better job as far as sequestering carbon.
Yes.
And also on the other side, when it comes to newer forest, right?
Yeah, because that carbon can be stored in those walls in 2x4s and wherever, versus somebody that's recycling it back into the atmosphere.
So I always have fun when I put people in my plane because I always explain to them as we fly around what's going on in the forest, and people go, "Where are they cutting us?" So we've been flying over it for the last hour. You know, we've learned a lot over the years, and we've gotten pretty damn good, and we're getting better, right? We're starting to learn how to emulate much better nature when it comes to cutting practices. Well, listen, where we're coming from is that we believe that at the end of the day, the only way that the North survives is that natural resources are the key part of the industry, the key part of our economy. Doesn't mean to say you don't try to do value added. Obviously, those things happen. But what is it? It's forestry, it's mining, it's hydroelectric. And we need to position that in a way that at the end of the day, we're able to have that activity happen, because if Northern Ontario does well, so does the rest of the province. Yeah. Why did they build the skyscrapers in Toronto? It was out of the money that they used to finance a lot of the projects that we have here in Northern Ontario. Stock market, if you look at what goes on with the TSX, a large part of their business is what? It's natural resources. So we want to adopt a policy that essentially says the communities have to have a stronger say. We can't be relying on Queen's Park to make decisions for us all the time, because I don't care who the government is. You get a bunch of people in a closed room down in Toronto, it's a different attitude when it comes to doing some of these things. So what we're saying is, I guess, is a couple of things. One is policy-wise on the mining, forestry, hydroelectric side. We want to make sure that those natural resources are used in such a way that benefit Northern Ontario and create stronger economies for all the reasons that we have also known. But the other side of it is what you're talking about here, and this is one of the ones that have been for a long time, is that I, like you, and I think Réjean, wherever you are, said it, I think, probably best. At the end of the day, we all have to learn to share. And I don't think anybody in this room would say, an outfitter doesn't have the right to make a business and doesn't have a right to bring people into places like this. And, it's a good activity. I hear what you're saying, because it's the same comment that I get from almost all communities. I don't get any benefit in my community. And that's something that I think we need to think our way through. But certainly to God, there's got to be a way that we can respect traditional access, so that, as you said, my father was fishing here when he came 40 years ago, and this was an open area. Certainly to God, there's a way to figure out how we can allow traditional access in a way that we cohabitate with the outfitters. If a new outfitter is about to set up, well, then put him on a remote lake. A truly remote experience, not something that you're taking a place that there was a road and all of a sudden you're saying, well, let's pretend there's no road there anymore. Or there's a waterway, let's pretend the waterway doesn't exist. So that's going to be a really interesting one to fix, because I recognize with you is that there's all kinds of competing interests. But the basis that we come at it is that you should respect traditional access. If a family has been fishing in an area or hunting in an area or blueberry picking or whatever it might be, we need to respect that, and we need to say, just as with First Nations, that we respect the traditional, the traditional uses of our forests and our lakes that we've had over the years. And if we need to do something to accommodate outfitters in some way, I'm sure that we can figure it out. You, from what I hear, is saying, listen, I don't like my option A, but I can live with it. And I think, we need to have a government that says, we're not going to let you work just with the group you want. You've got to put everybody in the room and work your way through it. Key part is, you've got to bring local decision-making home. This cannot be done at the regional level. This cannot be done at the provincial level. You really got to involve your local communities and the local users to come up with those solutions.
And the other thing was, before, you have to pay a license fee, or you have to pay a fee, right? The outfitters to own the lake. It was $125. It went up to 1,000, right? 1,000 something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But it's still.
I wish I paid that.
It's still. It's still peanuts.
Oh yeah.
But because they've increased it, John Pulish was telling me, the district manager, that some might let go of their license or because they've increased it.
Because they have an outpost cam there, an outpost cam there, and then they're just keeping it. It's all ready, they're not using it anymore. So now they're gonna just let that one go, let that one go.
So at the end of the day, maybe just a quick question is, if the NDP party is in power after October the 6th, and our MPP is Mike Mantha. What the NDP party will do for us.
We're committing that what we want to do is that we want to come back at it from a community perspective. We've already announced today as far as policy where we're going with forestry and mining, and it's about making sure we benefit from those natural resources. So on the RFP process for forest, for reallocation of unutilized forest, we're saying the community has to be the driver. The Crown has a responsibility to make sure things are done right and it's to the benefit of all Ontarians, but at the end of the day, wood that's in your backyard doesn't serve you well if it's being shipped somewhere 200 miles down the road for somebody else to benefit from it, or even out of the province. We were at a press conference this morning, and all of the trucks that were going by, literally, the media knew, they said, there goes another one to Quebec. Yeah. There goes another one. And I got nothing against Quebec. Like, Quebec is a province of Canada. I recognize they have a right to exist. But what the hell are we doing shipping raw logs out of our area when we can be adding value to them here? So that's the first thing. And basically, he's asking what our commitment is. So the first thing is we're saying, an RFP process that gives communities a real say about what happens with the forest in your backyard. On the one with the traditional access, I know what I would like to do, but even I can't go that far, to be blunt. Because at the end of the day, we need to respect there are outfitters there that have a legitimate business who want to be able to make a living, and who knows, maybe some of you will want to do that one day. But certainly there's got to be a way of doing that in a way that you're able to, both of you, cohabitate. As you said, here's my option A, I don't like it, but I can live with it. And the only way you're going to do that is put people in the room, the decisions, you know, the basis of the decision is developed in the community. Then it's a job of the ministry to say, okay, that falls within what's right and good, let's move forward. But the basis is, we got to give you more say about what goes on. Can't be decisions at Queen's Park, because it doesn't work.
Well, and we have to listen to
well, it can't.
what people are saying.
It can't just be a dog and pony show, right? To come and put on some show and then leave and make a decision that doesn't even take into consideration what you've had to say.
Okay, I know we have to go to the other location, but just before, Louise will have a little token to present to you, Gilles. So this is for Andrea. Oh, sorry for the color of the bag. We didn't have orange bag, so but you will see inside there.
Make it down color. That's fine with that. Gorgeous. Thank you so much.
You will see inside there is a nice color.
Oh, there's some orange there. Look at that.
We smell the orange.
Thank you. That's totally unnecessary, but very much appreciated.
Thank you
so much.
So we're in your hands for your community meetings. So did you want to say a couple of words introducing us, and Andrea say a couple of words, and then we take questions?
Yeah, I believe it would be the best plan. We're going to move to the arena, so